Welcome to the Miss Pursuit podcast, the show that will inspire you to pursue an extraordinary outdoor lifestyle. I'm Carly Brasso, founder and CEO of Miss Pursuit, and we are obsessed with all things outdoors. We're here to help you on your messy and magical journey of getting outside. The tried and true secrets, tips, and tricks for starting, learning, and advancing your skills and passion for the outdoors. Shy away from real talk? Nope, not here. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the awesome of hunting, fishing, guns, archery, and wild game are all what you'll find here. Pull up a seat, get cozy, and be ready to be challenged and motivated while you learn. This is the Miss Pursuit podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Badlands. At Badlands, they sweat the small stuff, so we sweat a little less. Their gear is so well built, they can cover it by a legendary unconditional lifetime warranty. And guess what? They just launched a women's camo line. They heard us, and as of now, we are done making do with hand-me-down hunting gear. Badlands has the toughest nails, triple stitched, made to fit you, guaranteed for life women's hunting gear we have all been waiting for. Make sure to use code MISSPURSUIT BL30 for 30% off at their website, badlandsgear.com. Today we're talking about women's camo and gear with Hannah Marcom, a Miss Pursuit contributor. Hannah is a Texas native who discovered her love of bow hunting in her late 20s with an affinity for turkey and whitetail hunting. You can find her working as a social media manager during the week and shooting her bow, hunting, and preparing for her next hunting adventure on the weekends. Hannah, welcome to the Miss Pursuit podcast. You know that I absolutely love you, but are you ready for this?
I am, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. So for everyone, a little background I think we can share. Hannah and I were medium Instagram friends, but you were kind of friends with Amy Hall and a couple of us kind of randomly. I don't know what your relationship was with Amy before, but Amy came to Dallas, and basically there were a couple of us that she was like, I'm going to be in Texas. Let's get a couple of us together. So Amy Hall, me, you, Hannah, and then Janelle Smith. I call her Jen, but Jen Smith, all met at my house. And I thought, I don't know if I'm overly dramatic, but I felt like we had all known each other forever. And I think this is like the beauty of social media because there are a lot of curses of it, let's be honest. But it was like we all just kind of connected over a common interest. And I felt like I had known y'all forever. To just go ahead, Hannah, and give us a little backstory. Clearly, I know you love the outdoors. I know you love hunting. Have you always been an outdoorsy girl? Did you grow up hunting and fishing, or is this a new thing for you?
No, this is definitely like a later in life, started in my late 20s. I would go with my dad dove hunting. I think I went with him twice, but I never actually had a gun, shot at an animal or anything like that. I just was there. And that really wasn't that much fun, if I'm being honest with you. It didn't click then until later, whenever my boyfriend got into bow hunting with his dad, that it all kind of started.
Okay, so you start dating this guy. He's bow hunting with his dad, and then you're a little bit like, hey, I kind of want to join on. Or how did that happen?
No, yeah, so we had actually already been together for 5 years prior to him even getting into it. So, his dad was going through some health stuff, and he really wanted to find something that he could spend doing with his dad, making those memories, just doing together. And his dad hunted. His dad had recently gotten into bow hunting, and that just kind of happened that way. And Ryan, my boyfriend, fell in love with it. And then, like, from that point on, it was like all bow, everything, all the time.
Isn't about what hunting does to people or the outdoors? Like whatever your
Yeah,
thing is, but it's like all or nothing. Like you are either 100% in or 100% out.
absolutely. Yeah. So he did it, just him, for the first year by himself, where I was truly like, not, I'm like, no, don't talk to me. I'm not spending that much money on a something, like, you're crazy. You're crazy. This hobby is crazy. And so, but then, during that time, he kept encouraging me to get into it, to be able to spend time with him, and, go out with him, and it all, he wore me down.
That isn't that how it always happens. Okay, so listen, what I want from us today is I want to talk camo and gear with you. But
Hmm.
I first want to kind of ask you, you're really, I mean, your handle is Hannah the plus size hunter. You focus on how is that in our industry or for you that you really are very loud and proud about being a plus size hunter.
Yeah, so I mean, and yes, my page, the reason why I even started my page, because I was hunting, I think I had been hunting at least 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years prior to even starting, like, my hunting Instagram. And the reason why I started was because I had a really hard time finding women's gear that was, I mean, women's gear is hard enough, right? But then add on women's gear in like an extended size of like a 2X or 3X, and that just makes it that much harder. So I got, from my boyfriend's encouragement, to, kind of share my experience and like what works for me as a plus size woman. And that's really where it started, but it's kind of become it's so much more than just plus size gear. It's just women's gear in general, because I think that, I mean, all women of all shapes and sizes follow me, comment on my stuff, message me, ask me questions about stuff, and they really appreciate, like, me showing the things that I do, even if we're not the same size. They could be a small and I'm over here in a 2XL, but because I'm showing what it looks like on me, they have a better idea of how it might work for them. And I think that's the beauty of it. I mean, how it all evolved is just a great story, but that was never my intention in the beginning. It really was like to focus on being plus size. But yes, to answer your question, another piece of it was that I also didn't ever, like, in terms of like marketing promotions for women hunting and stuff, like, you just don't see plus size women represented. Um and that's another, I still now, 5, 6 years into hunting, I still do see that as something that's missing.
Yep. Yep. Well, I so one, if you do not follow Hannah, you have to follow her. And as much as maybe her posts are for plus sized women, um, the information you share is invaluable, creative. It is creative, it is invaluable, and it is really for everybody. So I love you, and I think you're very raw. Like you show the shit that I think most people wouldn't. You show when it's too tight. You show, oh, look at how my ass looks in this. You're very upfront about the good, the bad, and the ugly of camo, of gear, but of our bodies. Cause right, like I know like my ass hangs a little here, or my boobs are a little here, and all of our bodies are so, so different. And you show your picture and your truth. And I love that. So, okay, as my camo guru, my first question is like, where do women start? Like, do we need to go? Like, should we go into Cabela's? Do we go into Bass Pro? Some of these big box retailers? Is it best to start online? Like, where do women find gear?
So I think that inevitably every person, and because this isn't just women, but every person who's just getting started is going to go to the big box stores, because where else like do they know to go? Those specialized brands that are only online, how do you find out about those if you're just getting started? So yes, I think that the big box stores do are coming around to making gear that is quality and has, a decent size range. I think there still is some work that needs to be done there, but I feel like it's come pretty far, and I'm looking forward to where it goes in the future. um but yeah, like if you're just getting started, you don't know, like really don't know your, head from your feet. um you Yeah, that's a great place to start, and just to be able to try things on and have a picture of like, okay, this fits and this doesn't fit. And so that, because that's really the base, like that's your baseline, is like getting stuff that fits, right?
Mhm. Okay, so you wrote a blog a bit back as far as like what to look for when how to choose the right fit, I think, in your camo. We like legit, I don't care what size you are, to find a pair of jeans, to find a little black dress, like life sucks when when you go into a store. I swear, like I will try on 40 pair of jeans and I'm like, nope, 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 too big, too small, too stretchy, the this. So now we're gonna move to camo. um so fitting, how to find the right fit in camo in hunting gear. So first of all, you hear a lot, at least with women in the hunting community, pink it and shrink it.
Hmm.
What is that?
So that is, and I don't know, you can tell me if you agree with this. I feel like Pinkett and Trinket is becoming fewer and far further between. Like that's definitely, there's a lot out there now that isn't just like, oh, here's your two options, and it's pink, and it's basically just like an enlarged version of like the youth stuff. But pink it and shrink it basically means, yeah, like women's gear has not been to the quality of men's gear. So it's like the cheap stuff, it's not warm, it's not functional, and it's just like to appease. By having it, they're just like appeasing you,
Yeah.
right? And so I feel like that's not um the case necessarily anymore. I feel like there are a lot of good options out there. It's just
I,
knowing.
where to start and where to go.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and this is to me, when I think pink it and shrink it, basically a whole bunch of men are sitting together in a room and they're like, oh, this is the best selling shirt that we have on the market. Let's just shrink it down and it'll fit any woman, any woman. And I'm like, well, but you got to make our boobs a little different. And like our arms aren't the same length. And, we like it a different length on our hips and butt. It's like, you can't just take a men's cut and make it a woman. It's like we need
And
different cuts.
or a kid's cut and just like make it longer, right? Because I feel like youth stuff is so, well, at least on me, was always wide but short.
Short.
Short. But yeah, that's essentially what pink it and trinket means for those who never really understood. Um, which there is still pink because there's blaze pink, but
Ugh, I'm a hard no on anything pink. Like I just, which I'm okay. You do you. But for me, like if I see anything pink, like and you'll go to the gun store and you're looking at all these guns, and there will be one gun that's like has a little pink, and there's a little piece of me that's like, okay, that is a little cute, and then I'm like, no, no, can't do it. I don't know. I just can't do the pink. Okay, so let's go. Can you, in bullet points, tell me kind of your tips for finding the best fitting camo? What do we need to look at when we're looking for fit?
sure. So I always say that if it has an elastic waistband, as a woman, you are giving yourself a little bit of like insurance, right? Like yeah, because hunting, like, primarily is done in fall and winter, and like at the base level, we're like hunting in prime like Christmas holiday cookie time.
Guilty as
And
charged.
so like, so just giving your and then you think about like time of the month and bloating and like all of those things, and so you're giving yourself not only a little insurance to allow your body to make those changes and still be comfortable in the pants you're wearing. But, if you're sitting for a prolonged period of time and your pants are tight around your waist, how comfortable are you going to be? And then if you're ordering online, a stretchy pair of pants is so much easier of like a purchase when you don't actually get to like put your hands on it before you purchase it. So, elastic waistband, that's my like number one. And then my number two is to look for things that are adjustable. So, adjustable inseams. Some pants have like that, and like, what do they call it? Internal belt, I think, like where they
Mm-hmm.
have like a Velcro or even buttons or something that can make those adjustments for you. Um, Things like thumb holes, just like functional, like things that have like additional functionality, because again, that's going to ensure a better fit for you specifically. Like just it's you're able to customize it to your body, and if a piece of gear includes that, it's like again like some insurance. And um I also encourage people to do I think I called it like a dressing room dance or something. Like do the movements that you would be doing while you're hunting. So crouch down, go to your knees, touch your toes. I always hug my arms. I always like give myself like a hug because I have broad shoulders, and being a bow hunter, if it's tight across my back whenever I'm pulling my bow, back that restricts me. And you don't you wouldn't know that something is going to be restrictive until you're like literally like putting things like, and you're in that moment. I'd like make or break on like getting an animal, and like for your clothes to be holding you back, like how much would that like suck?
Yeah. So
um
so I think also, so thinking kind of about your like method of take. So whether you're, if you're a big archery person, yeah, be making sure doing those stretches, seeing like how a piece is going to fit you when you're doing that, or same with maybe a blind or tree stand, and like how are you going to be moving actually in that piece? Because when I try on stuff, I stand on my tippy toes and I turn and I look at myself, look at my butt, and then I kind of do a little dance. And I'm like, that's not realistic. Like, because that's not how I hunt.
right.
Like, I don't hunt on my tippy toes. Like, it doesn't matter how it looks on my tippy toes and dancing.
Right. Yeah. So the dance is not really like a dance, more like just do the movements that you would be doing out in the field. Because absolutely, like you don't want something that's going to restrict you, because like then what's the point? You just like paid a lot of money for this like specialized, and I'm like I'm doing those quote finger quotes, specialized gear that is like not helping you in any kind of way. So and then just like also pay attention to noise level, like when you're walking, is there a lot of swishing? Is that something that could deter animals if it's loud enough? And just yeah, things like that. Those are really good ways to help you, make decisions on like, is this a yes or a no for you, or do or don't item for you.
And even if you're just kind of starting and maybe you've tried on a few sizes or a few different brands at a big box store, and now maybe you're moving your search online where it's like, okay, I tried this, or, on Instagram, I've seen everyone, this is a new brand, or this is, what all the women are wearing. When you're looking and browsing online, look for a few of these things: elastic waistbands,
Hmm.
stretch, additional functionality. Those are things that clearly you can kind of see as you read reviews and look through pictures and descriptions that can help you before you make an online purchase.
Sure. Yeah. And then too, if you are looking online, look, take an extra step and like look at like their return policies. Do they have like a lifetime guarantee, like for the lifetime of that piece of clothing? Like those types of things can make that purchase easier.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk your camo closet. I
Mhm.
want to know must haves and like nice to haves. So, hey, this is my first season to go out hunting. What are like the 2 pieces, the 5 pieces? Everyone has to have X.
Sure. So I am a huge base layer junkie, which I know that when I was first starting out, that was something that I didn't do, and I think that that caused me a lot of uncomfortable sits
Misery.
for older. Yeah, there you go. I purchased just those like cotton thermal like long john underwear type, and some people use those and love those, but like I don't know, it didn't work for me. So investing in like a quality base layer, I would say like just do it. And you can go the merino wool route, you can go like synthetic route, like that doesn't matter. But just like you said, read reviews, do your due diligence, and get yourself a good pair of base layers, because they're going to be moisture wicking, which is good when you're hot because it takes the sweat off of your skin and keeps your body cooler. And then on the flip side, when it's colder, that moisture wicking keeps you warmer because you're not sitting there in your, you know, pit, your armpits are sweaty, and like then your armpits get cold because they're wet.
Mm-hmm.
So base layers number one, a long sleeve shirt, camo. I personally don't have any kind of like thoughts about the type except for women. I don't like a V-neck. Like I don't see the point in it. You're trying to cover yourself up, and if you're like if you're wearing a long sleeve V-neck and your neck is exposed, what's the point? That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
um and then yeah, just a pair of um I mean obviously camo pants, and I'm trying to think of what's a must have, because like you can absolutely wear those like cotton style camo pants that I mean I definitely had in my first season, because again if you have base layers, you can carry those into like mid season at least just through layering. So yeah, if you have like a lighter weight item, you just layer underneath that lightweight item to carry it further. And then once you get into the later season, so like me personally, I think that it's important for you to have early season stuff and late season stuff. And then the layering in between gets you through the rest of it, right? So I love bibs because I don't know. um, I just think like I have had lots of experiences where it's cold out, like it's cold and you're sitting and you're like in my pants, because I squirm and wiggle and stuff. So my pants would like start to creep down and my jackets would start to creep
Yep.
up. And with bibs, you don't have that issue because you're covered from the suspenders to literally like your ankles, and it's like fully covered. And I like, for me, that's what I love. If you are a squirmer, maybe get some
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting because I have, well, really, I mean, I don't know. To me, when I think bibs, I think like, oh, it has to be freezing cold and miserable. And I've worn my bibs like once or twice. And I don't think I've ever thought of them a little outside of frozen because really, like, I don't know. That's weird to me that I've literally never just thought like I could wear them for even kind of mid season. But this is my other question for you because I mean, you're a Texas girl. I'm a Texas girl.
hmm
So I've never like cared about base layers because they scare me because I'm like, oh, well, I could be hunting in November and it could be 80 degrees, or I can be hunting in November and it be 20 degrees. But I've just
Right.
never been big on base layers because, like, do you wear base layers even when it's warm?
Yes, because if you purchase the the ones that have that like antimicrobial technology in them, they're going to keep you from being stinky and sweating. Like, I mean, you're gonna sweat, but they keep that sweat stink at bay. And so you can wear the same things like if you're going on a trip or whatever, um 2 days in a row. Like there have been times like because I hunt archery, so we get that whole month before rifle opens
Mhm.
up. So I'm hunting at the end of October, which I mean you and I are speaking the same language of like we know exactly what that means. That's still like we could have a 90-degree day.
Yeah.
And I have, and I've sat in a blind that just like there was traps that heat, and I didn't wear base layers that day, and then I did the next day, and the difference between my clothes smell like the smell this is gross, but the difference between the smell of my clothes at the end of that day was just like remarkably different. I couldn't wear the thing that I wore that very first day for like the rest of the week
Okay.
because it just was so stinky. So also the other thing about that with like and I this we say that this is true about Texas, but I feel like it's true about a lot of places. We never know what the weather is going to do. So you can be sitting there and you're hot, and then like 2 3 hours go by and you're cold. So
Freezing.
layers layers, you can take them off, but if you don't have them with you, you can't put them on. So that's my like thought process behind that is that like I know I agree with you on that sense that like if it's hot, I don't want to be wearing a lot of layers because that sounds counterintuitive, but it actually does help. So
Yeah, that's the word. It's counterintuitive for me when I think, okay, it's going to be 70 degrees or 80 or 90. And then to put on a base layer seems like my brain hasn't quite grasped that concept. Today's episode is brought to you by Badlands. At Badlands, they sweat the small stuff so we sweat a little less. Their gear is so well built, they can cover it by a legendary unconditional lifetime warranty. And guess what? They just launched a women's camo line. They heard us, and as of now, we are done making do with hand me down hunting gear. Badlands has the toughest nails, triple stitched, made to fit you, guaranteed for life women's hunting gear we have all been waiting for. Make sure to use code Miss Pursuit BL30 for 30% off at their website, badlandsgear.com. Okay, so now, you know what? I kind of have my gear, but I might want to invest a little bit more. Maybe I want to add a few more things into the closet. Now, where's the fun stuff? So we'll call them nice to
oh
haves, but
man.
what's
Ooh,
the fun stuff?
the fun stuff would be which you and I don't need, but it absolutely is nice to have when you do need it, and that's like a heated vest.
Ooh.
But it absolutely is not a neat like a must have unless you live and hunt probably in like Wisconsin and Iowa, in which case like when women ask me about cold weather gear up there, I'm like I don't like
No.
are you talking about like 0 degrees and you're sitting out there? I cannot help you.
Okay, so a heated vest, that's
uh,
a good one.
yes. And then oh gosh, I and I'm going to call out a certain brand of jacket. Well, a brand and the jacket that they make, because there isn't anything quite like it, although there is one that I think is close, and I'm probably going to purchase it. But Sitka has their Fanatic Hoodie, and it is fleece, but it is so thin that it is perfect for layering. And I got so much use out of that last season, but Badlands just came out with their new women's line, and they have, I believe that you may have it because I saw a picture in your newsletter, and is it the Flex hoodie?
Yes, I love it.
So it looks so close, and I am like probably gonna get it. The I think the major difference between the Sitka, at least from what I can tell online, is that the Sitka one has like a built-in face mask, which is just really nice,
Mhm.
like to have. So that's like the one. thing that probably the Badlands one doesn't have that the Sitka one has. But like basically a thin hoodie that is like fleece lined, that's like gonna keep you warm, but not like so hot. But when it is cold, that's a perfect layering piece that's not going to add a ton of bulk. Like, and so because you brought up a good point about bibs that you when you think about bibs, you think about super cold weather, which that I think that the reason for that is because for the most part, most bibs are so bulky, but
Mm-hmm.
they are coming out with things now. I have a pair of midweight bibs that I love because they are not bulky. They honestly feel kind of like pajamas, but like if you layer underneath, I was able to carry them into late season last year, no issue, still just as warm. But then I also wore them during mid season and I wasn't sweating my butt off, you know? So I think too, things, I feel like the like nice to have things are the things that are like not bulky because it seems like those are the things that are more spendy. But
Okay, so my nice to have, I'm going to put on your list. No, I'm just kidding. On our list, on my list, is a neck gaiter. Like,
yes,
you don't have to
yes,
have
yes,
it.
yes.
You're fine without it, but hot damn, man, if you have on just a really good neck gaiter, I mean, I feel one sexy. I don't know what it is, but to me, a neck gaiter makes me feel very sexy and warm, and you can just kind of pull it up, a little bit when you need to. Like to me, a neck gaiter, and I always like no matter what, I always either wear like a wild rag or something around my neck. So I love a V neck. To me, it makes me feel a little extra feminine or something. So a lot of my clothes, my hunting gear has V-necks and I really love that. But I almost always wear like a wild rag or a scarf or a neck gaiter. And those are like the pieces that I love because they just make you feel sexy but warm.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. Aside from the V-neck, we'll just have to agree to disagree.
We will agree to disagree, but I'm not sure if we will have you on the
Listen,
podcast again unless we can have you say
okay.
you love
Oh man.
camo V-necks. No, I'm just kidding.
But listen, yeah, this is a lesson in it for everybody else. Look, we disagree, but look how respectful we are of each
Oh
other's
my gosh.
opinion.
Can you believe two people who disagree and we can laugh and still like each other? I mean, who knew that that could happen in 2021?
Oh
I mean,
my gosh.
um,
But I agree with you on the face covering neck gaiter, which can be like thin because they make ones that are thin for early season, and then you get to have the really nice fleece lined ones for late season. Another thing about that that I will add that you didn't say that I feel like is just as important is like as I get older and my face is like exposed to the outdoors, the wind, whatever, like my skin does not recover as quickly as it used to, which is like horrible. So like my face gets so dry, chapped, whatever, very easily, and I feel like as women, um covering that with like a neck with like a face mask, whatever, is just super helpful in general, that I have found.
that's that's a good little tidbit. I like that. Okay, Hannah. So now I would love to pick your brain on like choosing the right camo pattern.
Hmm.
How does someone know what pattern to buy? And this is where I get really confused because no matter what brand you're going to buy, there will be all these patterns and there's this and there's that. How do you know? Like, does it freaking really matter what pattern?
Yeah, so I love this question because I'm kind of like you and like I don't really know. Like I don't I've actually kind of tried to like because you know how they say like we wear blaze orange if you hunt public land and they say, "Oh, deer can't see orange." Who knows that and how do they find out? I have no idea. But right, we just like accept that that's true. Like, oh, they can't see orange, can't see pink, they can't see red, I guess too is what I've heard. But like blue is bad, teal is bad. I don't know. That part of it I don't actually know, but absolutely there are some things that you probably wouldn't want to wear like in Texas we wouldn't want to wear snow camo.
Good
Like,
point.
just,
Yeah, I
you
don't own any
know,
of
like,
that. I think it
um,
was who was it? And I don't want to like say the wrong name. I almost want to say it was like Jen Smyers, or she's a Canada girl. And I think she showed like a picture of her hunting closet, and she had like bazillions of pieces of camo. I mean, that's like their life. Like they literally hunt
mhm.
to survive and blah blah. But it was like snow camo pattern, like all snow camo, and I was like, I was like, don't have any of that because. So
Yeah,
do
don't have
you?
a need.
So would you wear the same camo, let's say whitetail hunting, that you wear turkey hunting?
Yes, I do. Um, because for the most part, my stuff, like, one tip that I would say that is just in general going to help people is like look at the terrain of where you're hunting and the colors that are present in that terrain, and then the colors that are present in your gear. So like the real tree, like traditional leafy camo, I'm kind of getting further away from that in like my personal collection because I hunt in Texas, and like where I hunt, there's not a lot of leaves. Like they're just like we have mesquite trees or cedar trees, and so there's not these like big leaves, but like any kind of digital camo would is going to work perfectly fine because it's going to break up your pattern, as long as you're not, wearing something like super out of what your terrain looks like. If you're sitting up in a tree, you probably don't want to wear something that's like super suited to like an arid climate because you're in a green tree, and you don't want to wear something that's super like tan and dusty. Not that like they say deer don't look up unless you like make them, like by making a noise or whatever. Um, but just those type, like very like general kind of like, I don't want to say common sense, but yeah, just like think about where like what, like look outside and look at the colors that you see where you're going to be hunting, and look at what you have in your closet, and if those things are match each other, you're fine. That's the way I feel about it.
What about, okay, you mentioned digital camo. What is that?
That's like what a lot of what you see now. So like Under Armour, like their Ridge Reaper. Oh, that's not technically digital, but it's like that. Like it's not like that very
Almost fake, like pattern.
yes, it's not like a lifelike leaf type pattern. It's just like a Badlands does. I would say that the Badlands, both of their patterns are more like a digital type of pattern.
Um, okay, now I want to ask you, so what are some mistakes? We'll just say mistakes, even though, we all, we're not to call anyone out or say bad or good or whatever, but some mistakes that maybe you see people make when they're buying or wearing or whatever their gear. Like, do you ever see like some girls out or maybe on Instagram or whatever where you're like, oh gosh, like, why if she just wore bibs, blah blah blah. Like, is there anything like that that kind of comes up in your head on like, oh, it's so annoying when I see blah blah blah?
Yeah, a V-neck shirt. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Oh, that is
no,
really funny.
I'm just kidding.
No,
I
you're
would
not. This
say
is what, but now I feel like every camo shirt, I'm going to start making sure that it is a V neck. And I'm going to be like all up close, like, look at my V neck, Hannah. That is
oh,
so
look at
funny.
and you're gonna like with your mule deer, your giant, magnificent mule deer, and you're like, you're taking your photo with it, and yeah, you want to make sure you're gonna have your décolleté like on display just for me, and be like, take that, Hannah, you are wrong. Um, but no, I would say like no, I don't ever like see necessarily other people making mistakes, but I will say that some of the mistakes that I have made, um, just not knowing the like the difference is that like not buying things that fit me properly because it was the only thing that was like a women's cut that was like not super long, and I like purchased it. So like the inseam of a pair of pants that I purchased, 4 years ago. I bought them because like they kind of fit, but then I get out and use them in the field, and because they're so like low rise that like I'm freezing my ass off, honestly.
Literally.
Be, because my like basically my butt crack is showing when I'm sitting down. Um, just those types of things. I think just if it doesn't fit you properly, don't buy it. Yeah, like I would say, and this is not always true, but I would want to say that if it's a little bit bigger, baggier, that's better than it being too small, because if your skin is like, covered, and you, like we talked about earlier, it's not restricting your movement, that's much more important than, and I don't want to say, like, I don't want to call women out and saying, oh, looking sexy or whatever, because that's not always the case. Like, that's not why I bought those pants. It was just because they fit my height, and that was why I got them. Um, I would say that truly is like the biggest mistake you can make, is buying something that doesn't fit you just because it was there and you needed it.
But I think that is a little, I don't know, I'm going to kind of paraphrase and circle around what you said, but buy up a little bit. If you don't be afraid to buy up. It's better to go a little bigger if needed than to find, you know, oh, well, I'm a 6, so I got to buy 6 even though it's a little tight. Go buy the 8.
Oh, sure.
Have some
Yes.
room to breathe, grow, crouch, pull, and buy up if needed.
Yes.
If you're on a
So
bear,
that and so that you can layer too. And that's something that you don't always know when you're first starting out either, is to buy things so that you can put layers on underneath it. Because you're not thinking that. You're thinking like, oh, well, I need this because I'm gonna go turkey hunting, and then you don't maybe know that you're gonna go hunt whitetail 6 months later because you're not there yet. But then so yeah, I always, me personally, I tend to size up unless I am very familiar with a certain brand and the way that their clothes fit me. For all the reasons that we just said.
okay, so Badlands they've just put out their new women's camo line. I know that you have maybe tried a piece or two. Is that right? You've tried how many pieces?
I have the Pecora base layers, the top and the bottom, and then I have the Color pants and jacket. And the Color is their midweight. Well, they call it like their, oh, how did they talk about it? It was like their ultimate everything, which I can see that. Well, I mean, like, oh, this will carry, like, this is what you need to like carry you through all like whitetail season long, which I can see that in some places. Texas, the first month in Texas is hot.
Miserable. It is miserable.
And I don't know that I will be wearing the Color set until a little bit later. But yes, I do have two different of their items that they just released.
Can you give any feedback as far as durability or sizing, as far as like, hey, it runs small, buy up, it has great stretch. Can you give anyone just a little, just straight up personal opinion?
Yeah. So the Pecora base layer set is very stretchy, which is really nice because I purchased everything across the board. Everything I bought was a 2XL, and that is like, that's kind of my go-to size of like we just talked about. I'm a little bit in between sometimes an XL and a 2XL, but I'm going to typically go to that 2XL size because I don't know, and I would much rather something be a little loose than something be too tight. And so the Pecora, you absolutely could size down, especially if you're in between sizes, because it is so stretchy. And I think being that I'm a 2X girl, a 4X girl could absolutely wear those base layers and love them, which is great because there aren't a lot of 4X options out there. We talked about how I'm a base layer junkie. I'm so excited for those because you talked about, asked about durability. And I'm getting so technical nerdy like
You're
here,
legit.
but
Listen, I know no one can see your face right now, but I can like feel the energy, and you're about to kind of geek out a little bit.
I'm about to geek
You're
out a little
legit
bit.
geeking out on me right as we speak. I'm watching you geek out.
So the fabric of the Badlands base layers it's merino wool, but it's like blended with cordura, which I think most of us are familiar with that, like cordura, like those oh, it's like that, like life proof, like string stuff that like you use for people make paracord. There
Paracord,
we
yes.
go. That's the um so it is going to be like so much more durable than your typical merino wool items. And they made it that way for that very reason. And I love that because if you're investing, because that's absolutely like all of the things we're talking about here, these are investments you're making on yourself. And as women, we are worth having clothes that work. Like that, if people hear nothing else, like that's like, I want to scream it to the rooftops that like you're worth, like women who hunt, you're worth spending that money on something that is good, like good quality, going to keep you warm, going to keep you cool, going to work. Like you're going to be able to use it for years and years. So the Cordura, um, Pecora base layer is going to be that thing for you that like you spend the money on it and it's going to last you. And it's going to last you because they have a lifetime guarantee on all of their clothes. So that's the base layers. The Color is I would say that's my true size. Like the 2XL is true to size. So go with your gut on your sizing there. Um, the pants are like, and lengthwise, I'm 5'4" and they work really great for me, but I can see them working for even anyone that's up to maybe like 5'8", but they do have tall options too, which is great. So the pants and jacket, I like a jacket that, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say I like a jacket that has a hood, which they have the flex hoodie.
Yeah, the
So,
flex.
um, but uh, it's warm. I put it on, and I like immediately on with the base layers underneath it. I probably had it on for like 20 minutes because I did a video on it, and I was sweating. Just like it's gonna keep you so well insulated. Just like keep that heat in without being bulky, which is nice. And it's like that soft brushed fabric, and so you're not going to get that like super windbreakery swishing because my thighs, I don't have a thigh gap. I don't know what that's like.
I
I don't know what that's
My biggest
like.
pet peeve is the whooshing pants. I swear, like, and that's what I mean. I'll like try on camo and stuff, and like you walk, and it's and how did anyone manufacture this and not realize like the whooshing? Well, the whooshing is the worst. Um, okay, so that's some pretty good feedback I think on Badlands new camo, women's camo line, at least from what you've tried.
Right, and I'm looking at their other stuff too, and like looking at it like, oh,
Well, you know
what's
you
that
get
like?
30 per
Oh.
you know you get 30% off
I
with
do.
special
So that's
discount code. Well, so I have their task pants, and the task pants, I'm loving them. Like they're a really, and I probably should be able to like talk about this a little better and everything, but like the fabric is really good. Like it stretches great. I bought a size down. So I bought a medium, and I exchanged to go down to a small, and I have those in. I haven't tried them on yet. I'm going to try those on tonight. So I actually bought a little size down on the task pants, but the material is insane. Like Will touched them, and he was like, "I'm a material junkie. That's what I mostly care about. I don't care if I'm warm or cold, but like I like just a good material." So the task pant material I loved, and then I have that flex hoodie, and I like the neck. It doesn't have like the built-in face mask that you said the Sitka does, but it comes up really far where you can like
hmm
get it, you know,
and
covering.
the hood itself is pretty like fitted to
Yes,
your head.
yeah.
Yeah, but they made it um so that it could fit in like a ponytail could work with it. So that's very nice.
Okay, did we miss anything? Like, what did we miss?
I don't think we missed anything. We talked about a lot of good things that I haven't ever brought up before, like the face mask neck gaiter thing, like that. I've never talked about that before, and I'm like, yeah, like other women have to have this issue where they go hunting for the weekend, and they come back on Monday and their skin is all dry. That
Yeah,
yep.
as we age, our skin doesn't bounce back quite as good as it
Does
did
not.
back in the
It does
day.
not.
Okay, so tell me what your must-have items are. What do you never, ever, ever leave your house without?
Oh my goodness. Is this like specifically hunting or anything?
No, I'll get to hunting in a minute. Anything, like no matter what,
Okay.
you have to take these 3 things with you.
My phone. I always have a drink. Most of the time it's 2 or 3. Like, and then some kind of like chapstick or something, like lip
Chapstick is a
something.
must. My lips
Yeah.
are always so chapped. Okay, so when you say a drink or 2 or 3, are you saying like a ranch water drink or like a water?
Oh, I wish. No, probably water, coffee, a soda. I'm hydrated all the time because
Okay,
I
I
just
like
like I need choices also.
Okay, so let's talk outdoor products. So, what is your favorite product on the market right now for hunting, fishing, outdoors, whatever your thing is?
Oh man, this is a question.
Okay, how about this here? Let me guess your answer to that question.
Yes.
Base layers.
I was thinking, right. I mean, I haven't gotten to try them yet, but I'm so stinking excited for those Badlands face layers.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to say your favorite product on the market right now is any base layer, but super excited to actually get out with the Badlands
Yes.
base layers and try those. I'm
Yes.
excited. I would
Yeah.
love for you to keep me posted on your feedback on those.
Absolutely.
Hannah, I am so glad you joined us today on the Miss Pursuit podcast. You're so smart. Your laugh and your bubbly personality is just intoxicating, and I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
Make sure to follow Hannah on Instagram at Hannah, +size, hunter. And a huge thank you again to Badlands for sponsoring this week's episode. Make sure to use code MISSPURSUIT BL30 for 30% off your next women's camo purchase. Thanks so much for listening to the Miss Pursuit podcast. Stay tuned for next week's episode and stay outside.